We lost a great man when Robin Williams died last week, and whenever there's a celebrity death, there are always assholes who come and use the celebrity death as a hook to talk about their pet cause. Well, my pet cause is ranting about assholes who use celebrity deaths as hooks for their pet causes. I know that that's a bit ironic, but bear with me. So, Robin Williams died of depression. And so this is a great time to talk about things like suicide and depression and the issues that surround suicide and depression. Things like the fact that even somebody who seems to have it all can be depressed. Even someone who has a great sense of humor might be depressed. And, we could talk about how Robin Williams was a part of the fastest growing demographic that is committing suicide, older, upper middle class white males. We can talk about the research into why that is and how we can stop it from happening. Or we could talk about how evil Big Pharma is. That's the route Rob Schneider has taken. You might know Rob Schneider from Deuce Bigalow, European Gigolo, amongst other fine films. Schneider recently tweeted using the hashtag Robin Williams. Now we can finally talk about it. He said, Robin Williams was on a drug treating the symptoms of Parkinson's. One of the side effects is suicide. Now, Parkinson's is a brain disorder in which the cells that produce dopamine die off, and that's why one of the side effects of Parkinson's is depression. But of course, it's worth noting that people with Parkinson's are actually at a reduced risk of suicide because dopamine also controls our risk-taking behaviors. And so lacking dopamine means that you most likely will lack the gumption, the ability to take that risk and actually kill yourself. So people just remain depressed throughout their illness. But, however, a lot of the treatments for Parkinson's involve drugs that either convert into dopamine in the brain or mimic dopamine in some way. And so while those drugs may help with the depression, they may also cause an increase in risk-taking activities. And in fact, they can cause actual disorders, things like gambling problems and hypersexualism. And they can also cause suicidal thoughts and tendencies. However, it's also worth noting that this is incredibly rare that someone on one of these drugs actually does commit suicide due to the drug taking. In fact, I found one study, it was a case study published in 2012, in which the researchers specifically call out the fact that they believe that this man who committed suicide while on these drugs, they believe he is the first known instance of a suicide resulting from these drugs. So it's incredibly irresponsible for Schneider to publicize this as some nightmare that people who have Parkinson's or may get Parkinson's should be scared of. He's basically fear-mongering based on misinformation. Schneider's follow-up tweet was, "The evil pharmaceutical industry admits to over 100,000 people in the USA die a year from prescription drugs. Hashtag Robin Williams." It took me ages to find the citation for this because Googling what he said just resulted in a bunch of conspiracy theory websites and natural news sites that didn't actually give me the name of the study. But eventually, I dug deep enough through an internet hole and I came out with the actual study, which appeared in the Journal of the American Medical Association. And this study was specifically called Incidence of Adverse Drug Reactions in Hospitalized Patients, and it was a meta-analysis published about 15 years ago. Now, it's worth noting that the first thing you might realize is that this was a study done on hospitalized patients, not the average person on the street. These were people who were already severely ill. And because of that, not only are you going to have more instances of people dying than you would with just regular people walking around taking prescription drugs, but you're also talking about risk benefit calculations that doctors are being forced to make on a daily basis in hospitals. And that may mean that if a certain medication has a very large chance of improving someone's life significantly, but a small chance of killing them, that might be something that both the doctor and the patient agree is a chance worth taking. But if you do give that drug often enough, then the odds tell you that some people are going to die from that. That said, an upper limit of 100,000 people a year dying from prescription drug adverse reactions is a large number, and it seems like it may be greater than other industrialized countries. And that's something that the United States should take a look at. And in the ensuing years, census meta-analysis came out. There have been many doctors who have been agitating for changes to the FDA, quality control changes within hospitals, figuring out ways that we can get this number lower. So it's not what Rob Schneider thinks it is. It's not what he wants his followers to think it is. And again, he's using a death that he doesn't actually know much about in order to score cheap points against quote unquote big pharma. And frankly, it's disgusting. What we know is that Robin Williams died of a disease that he had for a very long time. And it's a disease that, like it or not, doctors and the pharmaceutical industry are working to try to eradicate. Rob Schneider once said a few years ago on the radio that he didn't believe in vaccines and that polio just sort of eradicated itself. So that's the sort of person we're dealing with. And unfortunately, I have to tell him that much like polio, depression is not going to eradicate itself. It's going to take the effort of many people working together, using the best science we have to study it and to hopefully one day treat it in as effective a way as possible to prevent tragedies like what happened last week to Robin Williams from happening.